Hi everyone, I'm Barbara from Fairies in My Pond, and today is Tuesday and I will be answering one of your questions. Now this question that I'm going to be answering today is a very frequent one, and I really didn't want to go there because there is so much information on the internet and even here on YouTube, and that is, how do I personally bake polymer clay? Now, it has taken me over 30 years to establish my own way, and I feel very, very sure with the way that I cook it. I actually went on the internet. I even did some research here on YouTube just to see what people are saying and are doing, and basically what I have found is that there's a lot of people that I feel are giving out very good information, and there is a small amount that I would not do personally. Now then, if any of you that are watching this video, and the way that I am going to share with you how I do it, you might do it a little bit differently. I'm not going to get into this way is right, this way is wrong, you can do it like this, you can do it like that. I'm not going to get into it. I was sculpting at the time of when polymer clay, it went crazy and everybody was doing it wrong and nobody understood how to cook it. I will not go back to that ever again. I feel that however you're cooking it, it is your business, and as long as it works for you, then it does. But we each have our own art, and I feel that it just needs to be enjoyed and have fun. No debates. So today I am sharing this information, a lot of testing, and I've had a lot of breakage in that time of learning polymer clay, which has been over 30 years of experience with this. Okay, let's get on with it. I have a group of clays that I use all the time. Now I'm going to be adding two more to this group, but I am totally out of it. So I'm going to bring it in. And the first one, it was Cato, Fimo, Cernit, and Bozzi. That is my group of polymer clays that I faithfully use. Every time I see a new brand come out, I will try it. And if I like it, it comes into my group. Now, the other clays for me is that my problems were it had too much moisture in it, it caused cracks, it was too brittle, and it did not take stage baking. I want a lot of options to keep having the ability to get what it is that I'm wanting to get. So with the other clays, I found that I did not have those options. Now, if somebody else is using those clays for like jewelry and other things, I think that would work very well. But I'm talking about dolls here. I think it's a totally different way of art, because when people make beads or jewelry, they can do a little bit things differently than what I can do with dolls. That's just how I personally feel. Okay, let's get right into it with what it is that the way that I have understood polymer clay and how it works for me. Okay, polymer clay is a polyvinyl chloride, and when it's heated, it becomes rigid and flexible. So each package will tell you what is the highest temperature to cook it at, and the time. Now, I'm going to say this about Cato's clay, okay? Now, hers on the back of the package, and I do like her clay. You know, there's nothing wrong with it. But there's just one thing that I just don't agree with. Okay, it's 300 degrees for 10 minutes. Now, because she does jewelry, maybe for beads that would be a good thing, but as far as a doll, I do not agree with this. And I have tried it at that, and it was not cured inside. So what I do is I put it at 300 degrees, but I cook it much longer. Okay, Fimo. Fimo is, let's see, 265 degrees. Now, I do not go any lower, and I do not go any higher. Now, I don't have Cernet and I don't have Bozzy with me, so we're going to just really talk about these, but the other two, it's pretty much the same thing, is that when, maybe if I kind of explain it this way, if I took some plastic and I wanted to heat it, and it was the kind of plastic that if I totally wanted to melt it to where it was like a liquid form, and I would have to cook that to a certain temperature. If I cooked it under that, it would never make that melting completion of what it is meant, how it is meant to melt. So by lowering my temperature and cooking it at a longer period of time, what I found for myself was that plastic inside of that polymer clay still needs to hit that high temperature that is stated on your polymer clay package. It's just like if I put something in a piece of plastic in the oven and I want that to completely melt, and if I put it at a lower temperature, I can cook it for hours and hours and hours, and it is not going to melt to what I would want it to melt to a real nice liquid. And with polymer clay, I feel that that plastic needs to really melt and fuse into the binders that they put in it, the powders, the pigments, the colors. It needs to all fuse together, and then when it fuses, then when it's cooled down, it becomes that rigid and flexible piece of polymer clay. Now, this doll here has been cooked 8 times. It does not change color on me, and I am sculpting it out of Fimo Soft. Cato doesn't change color on me either. Cernet doesn't, and either does Bozzy. Now the other clays I have found that they change colors on me. I want that option with polymer clay to be able to cook it as many times as I want. Now this doll here, I can cook it 50 times and it's not going to ever be overcooked, or it's not going to be undercooked, because overcooked, I'm not cooking it higher than what it says. So I have that option to cook it as many times. Plus I have the option that it's not changing colors on me. Now back in the day when I was learning about polymer clay, the way that they had it then, you had just one basic color of a flesh. Now, Cernit, to me, was the best one at that time. It didn't change color as I cooked it. But because it was coming overseas, I couldn't get it quick enough. So I would go with my other brands like Fimo and some others that I won't mention. But it changed colors on me. So I decided, well, let me just cook it a little bit less. And what happened, and I'm really glad that it did, was that when an arm would break, I noticed that the outside of it is cooked. You could take your X-Acto knife and you can just peel it like an apple, and you'll have a long skin. But as you keep doing that, you'll start getting to that layer to where it starts crumbling. You will see the difference. It won't be a rigid, flexible piece anymore. It will be a crumbly piece. Okay, now for my oven, I always put one of these in my oven. Please do not dial on your oven. I just wouldn't do it, and I have more than one. I always have these around my doll, and this always tells me that it is holding that temperature all the time. It's not going up and it's not going down. The oven that I would really ever use is a convection oven where it blows the air. Now, if you're going to be using a different oven, I would suggest this. Be very, very careful with the space between your doll and the burner. Okay, everyone, I think that really sums it up with the baking. And I didn't really want to do this video on the baking part of it, because there is a lot of information out there, and there is on YouTube as well. But I have gotten so many people that to where you're coming from so much fear that I just want to share just a small part here, is that if you cook it properly and you're using the right kind of oven, you're not going to have any problem with it burning. The only way that it's going to burn is that if your temperature is too hot and it is too close to the burner. Other than that, I have not burned clay in my convection oven that has been set on the right temperature, and I can cook it for 2 and 3 hours and it will not burn on me. Now, have I ever burned clay? Yes, I have, but it was my own mistake because I changed the dial and didn't check it. So that is really the only way that you're going to burn it. So don't be afraid to do it. Polymer clay is meant to be fun, and it's, whether you're afraid because you're going to put it in, it's going to crack or anything like that. Well, every single one of us that picked up polymer clay for the first time has experienced those things. So don't be down on yourself because something that you made and you really felt good about it cracked, or it changed color on you. Let's say it changed color on you. Just say, well, okay, I'm not going to use that clay. I'll go find another brand. That's what I say. Stay open and don't limit yourself to where you stick with one brand. Just buy just one, block at $2, okay? And go test it. Keep testing them and see which ones work for you and what it is that you want, and find that clay that is going to perform it. Polymer clay has tremendously improved since when I first started. Now, if you're going to get into the polymer clay with the colors in that, I can't really go there with that because I really don't use polymer clay as far as a color. Very, very seldom. And I know that they do change colors. Some of them do. And You just have to experiment with it. But again, just don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. I hope this has helped you and it's cleared up a lot of things. Please search it out. Go on YouTube. There's some wonderful artists out here on YouTube that have some really good information. But really think about your options. Lowering your temperature and cooking it longer. Really think about that. If that works for you and you feel that your doll is really strong, then, you know, just keep doing what you're doing. So anyone, if you're here for the very first time and you would like for me to answer one of your questions, please leave that below in the description box, and I will add it to my list if I haven't already made a video. You can also join me on Facebook or my blog. I will leave the link to those two in the description box also. And everyone, I will see you next Tuesday.